Hello, Illustrator fans. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to part 3 of a 4-part series on translating concept sketches to vector artwork in Illustrator. Today, we are going to go over the live paint method. We're going to construct the luchador here. And let's get right into Illustrator. All right, this is my sketch. This is actually number 3. It took me a little while to figure out this body position. So along the way, I really wasn't refining the sketch so much as just getting an idea where everything went and a loose idea what the line work looks like. All right, step number 2 after importing your sketch. As we saw in the previous video, the Shape Builder and Pathfinder method is to draw your paths with the pencil tool. Again, when you are drawing those, please remember, at the very least, touching on the spine of the path or a small amount of overlap is extremely helpful. All right, next step is to add the brushes. I used Jason Seacrest's character inking brushes. I did spend some time with path direction and line weights on this. You'll notice his left hand fist that is very much coming at us in the foreground has a lot heavier line weight to it than it does. It actually fades across to his right hand, which technically would be behind him. All right, once you get here, it is time for the magic to happen. Right? I would always suggest that once you finalize your line work as brushes before cleanup, that you make a copy of that layer. And I'm going to rename mine to brushed LP for live paint. All right. I'm going to select everything here. And the way this works, I'm going to go to Object, Live Paint, Make. And Illustrator is telling me that my artwork is too complex because I forgot to outline my strokes, right? We want to deal with fills, which is why we duplicated this layer before we move into line paint, because we're going to change all of this to shapes. So now it's all shapes. Instead of the cleanup method that we saw last time, we're going to run through live paint twice. Once to clean up our line work as brushes, and then a second time to color everything. So everything's still selected. I'm going to go to live paint. I'm going to hit make. That will group everything and turn it into an actual live paint group. I'm going to go straight back to live paint, and now I am going to expand. When you do that, what will happen, expanding that live paint group, everything that is a colored shape, anything that you have applied a fill color to, which we left everything black the way it was as shapes, will expand, but it will also be separated. All right. Now, if you look up here in the upper left-hand corner, you will notice this is grouped. So I'm going to ungroup. Method of choice is fine. It's still showing group up here. Quite often when you expand out of live paint, you have to ungroup twice. And now my indicator at the left of the taskbar is showing mixed objects. So what that means is from here, now I can do my cleanup. All right, Fantastic. So, some of these areas that you will see have some pretty small overlaps to them. I find it helpful to drag a selection area that just touches those smallest pieces to actually get a hold of them, or like I am, if you are zoomed way in, it is absolutely helpful. So you just want to work your way around cleaning up. I just want to do a really quick job of the beginning of my cleanup and then show you the rest of how this method works. So I'm just going to hit a couple small areas and not get absolutely as crazy as I did the first time through this, getting everything cleaned. It goes pretty quickly though, as you can see. This method makes pretty short work out of getting everything cleaned up and ready for color. Okay, I just want to make sure I get in my eyes here, get everything cleaned up so it looks good. I went the Japanese kabuki route with the face, which is funny. For a luchador, as I've been calling the file. As you know, that is a Mexican wrestling thing. All right, I'm going to leave those just so I can show you the rest of the method and keep this video short. All right, this would be a great time to save as you are working. I'm going to go back to my selection tool. I'm going to select everything again. Actually, I lied. Before I do that, there's my final colored version. I need this color palette here. All right, paste in place. Now, before you go into the coloring with live paint, I find it helpful to have swatches loaded that I would actually like to use for my coloring. It's easier to cycle through the live paint bucket that way. So I quite often will pull a color palette from a photo or another piece of artwork that I've done. Maybe it's something that I've markered, and I will sample with the eyedropper the color palette out of there. If you select that palette that you've built and then go to your swatches panel and click on the panel options menu, the hamburger in the upper right hand corner, and with those rectangles selected, hit new color group, selected artwork, yes, swatches for tints, please, hit OK. Now what you can see up here in my swatches panel, I have a new folder with just these colors available to me. So now let's get the live paint happening. I'm gonna select all of my artwork. I'm gonna go Object Live Paint and Make again. Then I'm going to locate my live paint bucket, which lives, if you're hunting, underneath Shape Builder. It's also K on the keyboard for bucket. All right, I'm going to click on that. And now what you're seeing, I've got I've got my bucket. And above that, I've got 3 little swatches. All right, notice the one in the middle right now is black. And the swatch I have highlighted in my swatches palette is my black. If I hit my right arrow key, I'm going to cycle through my swatches. So when I went right, I went from black to red. Now I can go to yellow, green, cyan. I can go back. But what I can do in here is now I'm down in my folder, and using the arrow keys, I can cycle through my colors with the arrow keys as I'm coloring my artwork. All right, this is amazing. I love it. All right, so the way this works, keep your eye on the pointer, not the bucket itself. The bucket, and since this is a live paint group, will highlight the area that it's going to fill with color. I know what you're thinking. That doesn't really look like skin, but I'm going to show you a quick method to select fills. Let me get down here to close up on the face so I can get around these eyes here. Me mention this too. Anything that you want light or a very light color, I'm going to go ahead and use a green I have loaded in here. If you don't fill something with a color, live paint will not make it a shape. So I'm going to pop back up to my red here for inside his eyes. You can stay away from your blacks because those are ready to go, fully taken care of. Here I can put in these parts. I didn't do the greatest job with cleanup in here, but hey, this is about live paint. This isn't about my artwork. I'll show you the final again at the very end. All right, I missed some skin back here, and let's get his uniform colored a little so we can look at shading one more time. All right, I'm just greening that in. Ba-boom, ba-boom. All right, that looks good. I'm not going to do his boots for this example. Okay, we're done coloring. We've got everything that we want to be a shape and want to be able to adjust. Actually, I need to make his uniform a different color for the method I'm going to show you. So let's get there. All right. No, that is the same colors as the eyes, and okay, that is what I wanted. I want the eyes and the teeth to be a different green than his uniform. All right, we're done coloring. Back to the selection tool. That will select the entire live paint group. Again, look at the left of your taskbar. It will indicate what you have a hold of. Go back to Object Live Paint and expand. You need to go back and expand before you start dealing with these things as individual shapes. So I'm going to hit expand. I'm going to double check up here on my taskbar. It's showing group. So I'm going to ungroup, and now it's showing mixed objects. So what that means is anything I have colored is now selectable as an individual shape. All right, under the select menu, there is a same, and you can decide based on what visual attribute or appearance you want to select things. I want to adjust all of his skin color now. So I want everything that is the same skin fill color, which is why I was messing around with those greens so that I could get them all selected the same. Right now I have all of this orange. My fill isn't showing a question mark, it's showing a color. So this will allow me to dial in what I actually want his skin color to more accurately be, like that. I can grab the green, that's his uniform. Depending on how you have your main taskbar set, there should be a shortcut. Select similar objects up here. It's still set to fill color, so all I have to do is click on it. Now I have his uniform. Maybe instead of this green, we want to make him super crazy luchador, and we're going to go into kind of a grapey purple, I guess. Wow, that's something, right? Let's get his teeth and his eyes fixed here. Maybe those are a little more on the yellow but gray side. So we can go into a little whitish. Oh, I forgot to hit the same to get everything selected. So here's his eyeballs. Be careful if you have your palette on the same layer like I do. When you're selecting all things with the same fill, you're also going to be selecting your palette pieces. It's okay, I have so many copies of this kind of stuff just floating around. So the eyeballs that I forgot to select, I do want them the same as the teeth. So I have the eyedropper available to me, so I can just go ahead and sample right from the eyes. All right, let's look at shading really quick with the knife tool. So I'm going to select all of his skin. And then I'm going to grab my knife tool, which is nested underneath the eraser. Now, the knife tool, you have to start outside, finish outside of individual shapes. His main torso area is actually 3 shapes, but I can drag through all of them at the same time and split them up the way that I want for shading. So what I'm going to do is start over here. I want a shadow that runs across his right arm, down his right pec, onto his stomach, up his other pec, out his left arm, and then I'm going to split his thumb a couple times. So I'm going to go across his thumb, and then I'm going to finish coming out the back of his fingers that are making his fist. Now when I let go, the knife tool is going to split everything. I go back to my selection tool. Now what I'm going to do is grab all of the pieces that I just separated, just like this. Don't forget this one. And now I can shade this with Color Picker to a slightly darker skin color. Oh, I grabbed the wrong piece of the pecs. Why didn't you all tell me that? Alright, so now I'm not sure what I have a hold of. I should have this, and this piece. This is what I wanted to shade. Alright, let's just take them down in there a little bit. Alright, and now I've got some nice uniform shading for lighting. Alright, so you've seen it all. That's how Live Paint works. Again, you're going to run through Live Paint twice. That first time with just the brushes, you might have to ungroup twice. When you finish coloring, make sure that you go back and expand. This is where I got him to earlier, and then what I did was just drew a rectangle behind him and literally just took this background layers way down here at the bottom of my layers panel and just took him with the pen tool and just made this outlining explosion thing. Bonus content. I am right at 20 minutes. This will just take a second. If I select everything and I copy, and then I hop over to Photoshop, let me close that, and I hit Create New. Photoshop will create a document based on the size and resolution of what is on the clipboard. It is screen. I'm going to change it to 144. That is Mac Retina display. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Let Photoshop create that document. I'm going to paste as a smart object. I missed my actual wrestler because I had that layer locked. All right, Command A, copy, back to Photoshop. Document's going to be the same size. Paste, Smart Object, Enter, Crop Tool, 1:1 square. That came in a pretty good spot. I would actually just move it down here so it hits the bottom. I'm just adjusting my crop. I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter, and now I can flatten. Right click in the layers panel, flatten, save as, and now I have a JPEG ready to post on Instagram. All right, have fun with Live Paint. It's probably the favorite method of a lot of people, especially when they're new. It's quick and easy to get through. Enjoy.